end. Before we go any further, I'm going to put a hold on their adventure to explain some more backstory. Years and years and years ago, there was a wise and powerful and old Master Xehanort. He was a Keyblade master who had a very keen interest in darkness and the hearts. You can sort of see where this is going. He studied the lore of an ancient time, centuries ago, when there were Keyblade masters everywhere. These Keyblade masters were divided against each other, fighting for the light known as Kingdom Hearts. Originally, all the worlds were just one big world, but when everyone fought against each other for the power of Kingdom Hearts to steal it for themselves, darkness was born and it separated the worlds from each other. The Keyblade is a very special weapon that safeguarded Kingdom Hearts. That's what all the Keyblade wielders were fighting for, so that they could obtain Kingdom Hearts for themselves. Master Xehanort thinks, you know what, I want a Keyblade for myself so that I can start a Keyblade war again, and this time we'll see what happens. That's exactly how insane and crazy this guy is. His first thought is, I'm too old for this. I need a younger body to accumulate and use in order to see my plans come to fruition. He takes under his wing an apprentice called Ventus. And Ventus looks a lot like Roxas, doesn't he? Go fig. Anyway, he plans to use Ventus to possess him and control his body for the rest of his life. But it turns out, you know, Ventus isn't too good for that. So he decides to use Ventus instead for the Keyblade. Unfortunately, Ventus lacks the capacity to do this. So he decides to rip the darkness out of Ventus's heart forcefully and creates a new being called Vanitas. And Vanitas is too powerful, so Ventus starts to die. He leaves Ventus on Destiny Islands, but at this point Sora is born. Sora's newborn heart links with Ventus's and saves him, rebuilding him. Xehanort leaves Ventus in the care of his old friend Ericus. Ericus has two pupils of his own, a young man called Terra and a young woman called Aqua. And Xehanort sees great potential in Terra to become his new vessel instead. A couple of years later, and Ventus and Terra are best friends, with Aqua being a great supporter of the group. Unfortunately, evil things are afoot as Vanitas spawns these evil monsters known as the Unversed. They're negative fledgling emotions, and he sends these Unversed into various worlds, causing havoc in order to lure away Terra and Aqua and Ventus and, you know, get them separated. During this course, Vanitas starts to aggravate Ventus and get him to grow stronger and stronger. Meanwhile, Xehanort lures Terra over to his side, pretending to be his friend. While the three friends believe in their friendship, they start to grow apart as they don't really see much of each other lately. And then later, Terra finds himself on Destiny Islands. I completely forgot! The reason Sora got his Keyblade back after Riku stole it, proving to himself to be the real wielder, was the fact that Sora has a much stronger heart than Riku. So the Keyblade decided, you know what, Riku, you might be my real master, but I'm choosing Sora instead. Sora proved himself to be the better master, and that's how Sora still has the Keyblade. Sorry, I completely forgot about that. No worries, let's move on. On the subject of Keyblades, Terra finds Riku and Sora on Destiny Islands, and he thinks Riku has the potential to become a Keyblade master. So he decides to perform this ritual with Riku that lets Riku use the Keyblade once he's ready. And that's how Riku was chosen by the Keyblade later in Kingdom Hearts 1, although Riku chose darkness. Because Riku chose the forces of darkness, the Keyblade passed its decision on to Sora. That's why Sora became the wielder back in Kingdom Hearts 1. Again, sorry for forgetting all about that. Then Aqua comes along and she sees the two boys and thinks, you know, I think these two have the potential to become Keyblade masters. She sees that Riku's already gotten a Keyblade and thinks, I don't think more than one Keyblade is necessary here. Master Xehanort then reveals to Ventus the truth about his past. Ventus confronts Ericus about it and Ericus tries to destroy Ven. Terra shows up, again being led by Master Xehanort, and he protects Ventus with the power of darkness. He uses the darkness to destroy Ericus, and as Ericus is dying apologetically, Master Xehanort puts him down once and for all. He then scolds a grieving Terra, proving his true dark nature, and destroys his homeworld so that Terra has no home to return to. He then leaves Terra with a message to come to the Keyblade graveyard if he wants to save his friends. Meanwhile, Vanitas runs into Ven, and Vanitas tells him the exact same thing: come to the Keyblade graveyard if you don't want your friends to get hurt. Throughout their adventure, King Mickey just received Keyblade training from Master Yen Sid. Once he heard about the Unversed, King Mickey just hopped off and started to help the three out on their adventures. He befriends Aqua and Ventus, and later Aqua comes across Mickey floating in the realms between after an encounter with Xehanort. She takes him back to Yen Sid, who reveals what just happened to Ericus and that the two friends of hers are heading to the Keyblade graveyard, exactly where Master Xehanort wants them to go. Aqua then also goes over there to try and stop everything from going wrong. During a huge battle where the three friends fight Master Xehanort and Vanitas, Braig shows up and fights Aqua. Braig was an accomplice of Xehanort's, a rogue who was helping him out with his plans, for a reason we don't know yet, and during a battle with Terra he lost an eye and got a scar on his cheek. Braig later went on to become the nobody we know as Zigbert in Kingdom Hearts 2. He is rank 2 in the organisation. But Braig was only there to buy time for Xehanort so that he could have some alone time with Terra, where he fought Terra and forced him to draw out his darkness in order to defeat Xehanort. Meanwhile, Vanitas gets the jump on Aqua, knocking her out cold. Before he can put an end to her altogether, Ventus steps in and saves the day. And unfortunately, this is exactly what Master Xehanort wanted. In order to create the Keyblade, his ultimate goal, so that he can recreate the Keyblade War and get Kingdom Hearts, he needs Ventus and Vanitas to fight. When they fight, they will fuse together and become the Keyblade. Unfortunately, Ventus falls for it and fights Vanitas in order to protect Aqua. A noble act, but it causes the Keyblade to be forged in the end, with Vanitas being the one in command. Mickey shows up and helps Aqua. The two of them fight alongside each other as they defeat Vanitas, which is Vanitas possessing Ventus, wielding the Keyblade, and through the power of friendship, no seriously, they'd managed to destroy the ultimate weapon, and so the Keyblade is utterly eradicated. Meanwhile, up top, Xehanort succeeds in possessing Terra, and so he becomes Terranort, as most fans like to dub him. But Terra's armor gains a mind of its own as it seeks to stop Xehanort at all costs, with Terra's last lingering will. So it knocks Terranort into submission, and the Keyblade's explosion sends him far away to goodness knows where. But it turns out the Keyblade is not destroyed altogether. Ventus faces off against Vanitas inside Ventus's heart, and the two of them clash in combat as Vanitas tries to finish the Keyblade and rejoin their union altogether, and Ventus wants to destroy the Keyblade and Vanitas. He knows this will destroy his own heart, but he'll do anything to save his friends. What a noble lad. Of course, Ventus comes out the victor, and so he is utterly destroyed. He obliterates his own heart to destroy the Keyblade and stop Xehanort once and for all. But his heart still finds its way back into Sora's heart when Sora was just a 4-year-old lad, and so he decides to rest with Sora for a while, leaving the fragments of his heart inside Sora, so that Ven becomes nothing more than a sleeping body. Aqua takes him to their homeworld, finding it all destroyed, and uses a trick that Ericus taught her to seal away the land so that nobody could ever find its secrets, because it is a refuge for Keyblade wielders. And so it becomes Castle Oblivion later on in the series, and Ventus is left sleeping in there somewhere, waiting for Aqua to return in order to bring him back to life somehow. They'll find out eventually. Meanwhile, Aqua finds Terranort and is convinced that Terra is still in there somewhere, so she fights with Xehanort possessing Terra, and in the end, she manages to call out Terra's heart inside Xehanort's body. She fights him into submission, and Terra's will fights on from within, and he locks away his own heart. Eventually, he starts to sink into darkness, however. Aqua dives after him, desperate to save her friend, but she realizes she is unable to save them both, so she sends Terranort up to the realm of light where he'll be safe. He wakes up with only the name Xehanort in his memory. He's apparently suffered amnesia, and Ansem the Wise takes him in, and he becomes Ansem's apprentice, although Braig suggests that perhaps he never lost his memories. Meanwhile, Aqua is trapped in the realm of darkness with no hope of escape, but she continues to fight on in the hopes that she might make it out someday. Back to Sora's adventure. So they head to Twilight Town and find Hayner, Pence and Olette trying to get into the old mansion where they think there might be an alternate Twilight Town. Due to evidence that Sora's carrying on him, they think that there must be a second Twilight Town, and Sora associates this with Roxas. With Mickey's help, they sneak in and find an old computer. They access it and manage to find their way into the alternate Twilight Town. Through the alternate Twilight Town, they find a portal which leads into an in-between realm. The moment they get in, they're attacked by nobodies. As they start to get overwhelmed by the numbers, Axel steps in to help them out. Axel sacrifices himself in a kamikaze attack that destroys all the nobodies. As he lies fading on the floor, he apologizes to Sora for everything he did to Kairi and the others. He explains that Kairi's been captured and held in the dungeon by the organization, and he opens a portal so that Sora can get into the organization's stronghold. They arrive in the organization's world, where Roxas and Sora end up clashing when Roxas appears all of a sudden. Sora comes out the victor, and as Roxas admits that Sora is the better of the two of them, he meets with Axel's fading presence for a one last conversation as the two friends say goodbye to each other. Meanwhile, in the organization's stronghold, Namine and Riku help Kairi to escape the jail cell, as Sora and the gang approach the castle and invade it. They fight their way through the castle, overcoming Zigbert, Luxord and Sayax, destroying those three members of the organization until Xemnas is the only one left. Mickey finds Diz, who is in fact Ansem the Wise all along, and Ansem tries to use his machine to encode Kingdom Hearts as data to destroy Xemnas' plans altogether. In the end, the machine self-destructs because hearts are far too complicated and complex to be encoded as data. The resulting explosion turns Riku back to normal into a regular teenage boy. And as for Ansem, he's disappeared and presumed dead, but it turns out he was sent to the Realm of Darkness where he meets up with Aqua, and the two of them discuss everything that's happened so far, although Ansem has lost a lot of his memories. So back in the organization's world, Sora, Riku and the gang all take on Xemnas, and in a huge climactic battle where Xemnas proves to be a formidable opponent, Sora and Riku are left stranded in the Realm of Darkness. Had they waited a second longer, maybe they would have run into Ansem and Aqua, but as luck would have it, that doesn't happen. As they're sitting there, a letter washes up next to them. Sora reads it, and it's a letter from Kairi that she wrote to him at the very beginning of the game. Just before their eyes, the door to light appears. The two walk through it and end up back on Destiny Islands, reunited amongst all their friends. But it turns out the fight isn't over yet. Yen Sid reveals to Mickey that when a Heartless and a Nobody are destroyed, then the real person will return to normal as a complete being. And this includes Xehanort. So Xehanort is going to return, along with many of the other members of the organization. So, Sora and Riku are called to Yen Sid's tower in order for the Mark of Mastery exam. He decides it's time for more Keyblade Masters to step forward in order to combat this new threat. What will happen next? Find out in Dream Drop Distance for the 3DS.